It's like an anchor. And until you cut the rope on that anchor, you can't go forward. It's holding you back. It's like the old story of the snake or the rope. And it's what one is in your mind that's there, that you anticipate that's there, that causes you to either go on with your actions or stay immobilized. Because what you think is true in your mind is true for you. And until we get beyond certain things, that's why changing a habit is so difficult, because 95% of the things that we operate on, our unconscious mind is in control.
Please be so kind to support us by clicking the like button and subscribing to our channel to be notified of all future content. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining me and Mr. Bill Gammon in this next episode of the KOG, that's the Kingdom of God Entrepreneur Show. I'm your host, Stephen Harris, and we are trying something a little bit different here with Mr. Bill Gammon. If you saw the last episode that he was on, which was episode number 2 with him, you know now that he is a mentor of mine, and he is basically guiding me through the process of really taking KOG Entrepreneur to another level, to where this is going to become, let's just say, my full-time focus. And I'm very excited about this opportunity. And anyway, Bill, I'm sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. How are you doing today?
I'm doing terrific, Stephen. It's a pleasure to be here with you and your viewers and listeners, such that we might be of help to them like we have been to others, especially people just like you.
Yes, sir. Well, it's great to have you back, because I know one of the things about my audience is that we sometimes need to go from having good intentions and trying something out to really having a very serious focus. And that's where you are that perfect fit to come in and help with that. In fact, today, right, we're going to talk about the 3 foundations that can help double your business in a year or less.
It's generally worked for most people, and all we can do is help you create the roadmap with these ideas and some other little tweaks along the road, and then hold your hand and walk through the journey with them if you want it. And if you don't, you can see what you can do yourself, and the map's all yours at no charge. And you can learn some other things in other ways, or you can find someone else to be your mentor. But I am who I am today because I've been mentored by champions for years and become very capable to help folks like you avoid the problems and the pitfalls that you sometimes stumble on along the journey to get from where you are to where you want to go. And so that's the reason for our show today. And hopefully we'll find some listeners who it'll fit like a glove. And those who do will be blessed, and so will we.
Yes, sir. Well, I am giving you the microphone here today because I'm going to be taking notes while you're talking, and looking forward to what we have for the audience today.
Well, the easiest way to talk about it to begin with is if you look at any business, they have leads coming in the door. They have conversions that them or one of the people that sells their products for them converts a certain percentage of those leads. And then they have a certain number of transactions for their clients a year, and they have a price for their product. And if you calculate those things and you then put what your profit percentage is on that revenue, you get the profit. And that's why any business is in business, is to make profits for the owner of that business, folks like you who toil in the vineyards quite hard every day to try to do your best for everybody you help. And then if you control things or you change things such that changes in the economy don't eat your lunch because the prices of doing business have gone up, and products, I don't care if it's just the groceries you buy at the grocery store, which are up double-digit plus this year,
Yes.
or the gas in your car, or whatever, your clothes. Your whole circumstances and economies have such that businesses have been hurt by both the economy and COVID. And we have ways that you can bounce back from it faster. If you just have someone who's been around in business for 5 decades and learned a lot, because I had a lot of coaches help me when I was in your situation. Like when we first talked, you felt I was the right person to talk to.
Yeah.
And some of your clients might find that to be helpful. So we're going to talk about the profit growth calculator and just those items we talked about just now. Leads. Let's say hypothetically your company had 1,000 leads in the last year, and you had a 25% conversion rate. That would give you 250 customers. And let's say those customers did 10 transactions. And at $100 a transaction, times 10 transactions, times the number of customers, 250, that would be $250,000 in revenue last year. And if you had 25% profits on that, it would calculate to $62,500.
Okay. So this person is making $62,500. Okay.
Not a bad income.
Yeah.
That's a little better than $5,000 a month.
Yeah.
Which is better than the minimum wage, but not a whole lot better. Now, if they just made a few tweaks and they increased those leads by 10%, from 1,000 leads to 1,100 leads, and they increased their conversion rate by 10% on 25%, that's another 2.5%, which means that 27.5% of those 1,100 people are going to become customers now.
Yeah.
And that would make 302 customers instead of 250. And instead of 10 transactions, one more transaction per year per customer, 11 instead of 10, and a $10 price increase, 10% higher, instead of 100, 110. That would take their revenues up from $250,000 to $365,420. And their profits, if they went up 10%, 27.5% of that number is $100,490.50.
Wow. Quite the difference there.
Quite the difference. Small differences make huge differences.
Yeah, that's over a $40,000 difference there, just by 10% change.
By 10% change in those 4 areas, and one's a calculated area, you make significant changes in the business. But when I work with businesses like yours, I don't just work with 4. I start with 12. I have 40 different areas that I look at with businesses. But trying to give somebody 40 new things to deal with is overload. And between COVID out there and the economy, we're already on overload.
Correct.
And so the wise way to grow a business is the prudent one. To plan a journey and create a vision to get from where you are to where you want to go. And the way we do that first is we sit down and we clarify what you really want to accomplish and what outcomes you want to reach at your destination. And then we put some mileposts in the journey. And we start out at the first milepost, and let's say we looked at those 12 for your business. The first milepost would be the one of the 12 that gives you the most profits first. Because by doing it that way, you pretty much pay for everything you're doing and then some without spending a nickel that you didn't already have. You don't have to go buy more advertising. You don't have to risk more money at things that you found that aren't working the way you expected them to, or someone promised you they would.
Yeah.
We do the most profitable first. And most of my good clients find those profits start showing up in their bank accounts in 60 to 90 days and scaling up from there. And when I talk about scaling up, they multiply.
Wow. Now, I'm sorry to interrupt here. I'm just curious. You've seen this, right? In recent times where you've used.
I've seen it in recent times. I'm doing it in recent times. I'm doing it with companies of all sizes and businesses all sizes today. And some of those businesses are much larger than startup. But there's no sense in talking about what someone else does.
Wow.
What's matter for you is your business. And for your clients, it's their business. They don't want to hear about someone else's business. But I can tell you, this works if someone's a doctor or a chiropractor or a coach or a baker or a maker of this or that, whatever this or that might be.
Wow.
And it's proven many times over to be efficient and effective.
Wow.
Here's where it doesn't work. If someone is not serious about building their business, the best plans, the best roadmap, the best ideas and opportunities will not be fruitful. It will be like sowing seeds on rocks. Because unless someone is going to do the work and implement the plan is useless. But if you look at my website at gammonassociates.net and you hit the About button, the first sentence says, I work with serious business people. And if people are serious about getting there, I am the person to hold their hand and lead them to the promised land. Because I have built these talents and skills over decades with people helping me to get better and better. And from the time we stand on our 2 feet from crawling and get up, we learn from others. And the more we learn from others, the more valuable we become, and the more expansive our reach becomes, and attractive our opportunities are for others to join us and share in what we can help them with and put us on their team to get where they want to go. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, yeah.
And so if someone were to take that 250 to 365 in revenue and profits from 62.5 to 100 and just stay on the path for 5 years, they could increase it probably more than 50%, because everything would be building on building. But if we just did that bottom line number, and others going up 50%, would change those numbers to where the revenue in 5 years calculates to be $1,264,500.
Wow.
And the profits $474,187.50. Significant differences from small differences. And there are other things that can be done to increase profits. One simple one is to cut costs wherever you can. And even leaner companies have found that they can make 3 to 10% increases over time by shopping what they get from this vendor or that vendor, by doing all kinds of other things to make sure they get paid on time and they don't have bad debts. There's a lot of ways to cut out waste and do other things. And if we're working on the one side, that's why I said we start with 12, because cutting costs is in those 12. And every dollar you save in cost becomes right down to the bottom line, profit. Because if you're not spending the money coming in goes in a profit company. Okay. And a profit company is the owner, the founder, the person like you, Steve, and me, that work our hearts out to help people who need our help get to where they want to go. Because other people helped us get to where we are. Now, you probably have some questions that you know some of your listeners and viewers might have. What would you think they might be?
One of the biggest concerns is basically, how does one become fully dependent upon their abilities to make that living, to make that success, right? I think there's so many of us, especially in the church, who are so stuck on, I've got to work for somebody else because, that's like the right thing to do. And the idea of stepping out is just, it's appealing to a number of us, but now knowing you're not depending on the paycheck, right? It's easy to let other people worry about all the details. I just have to show up and stay in my lane and I get paid, right? So how can we have that assurance that that is not something that everybody's called to?
Fear causes a lot of people to stay where they are and not make changes. But life is full of risk. And some of those risks aren't seen by the people until too late. It's sort of like the chicken who heard the crunch of the farmer's feet every day coming out to feed it. And then one day it was time for the chicken to be harvested. Instead of feeding it, the farmer harvested the hen or the rooster, and it went to the table. And unfortunately, a lot of businesses, in times that get tight, the first thing they cut are employees. And a lot of those employees are valuable employees, but they figure we'll get them back when we need them. But right now, we need to save profits.
Yeah.
And so they value money more than people. And folks like you and me, we tend to use money and value people than use people and value money.
Correct. Yeah.
And so we might help them find another job. We might do what we can to direct them in the right way. Or we might help them develop some skills that could get them hired somewhere else. But there is help for everyone that needs it. And the truth is, when someone needs it, someone usually shows up. Sometimes we recognize it, sometimes we fail to. It's like the guy who was caught in a hurricane, like it's one off the coast of Florida right now, heading up the East Coast when it started heading up the West Coast.
Yeah.
And a lot of people there lost life and property and jobs. And one of them gets to heaven and wants to know why he's there. And the guy said, well, we sent the guy, and the sheriff knocked on your door and you didn't leave. And then we sent somebody in the boat and you didn't want to get in because you were going to stay. And then we sent a helicopter and you didn't take it either, or you let it go by without even making any noise. And so you made it up here. And so I sent you help 3 different times and you didn't recognize it. So there are situations where we recognize it and we don't. But the truth is, that 4-letter word of fear immobilizes a lot of people. It's like an anchor. And until you cut the rope on that anchor, you can't go forward. It's holding you back. It's like the old story of the snake or the rope. And it's what one is in your mind that's there, that you anticipate that's there, that causes you to either go on with your actions or stay immobilized. Because what you think is true in your mind is true for you. And until we get beyond certain things, that's why changing a habit is so difficult, because 95% of the things that we operate on, our unconscious mind is in control. That's not totally bad, because the unconscious mind takes care of our heartbeat and our lungs breathing and all of the organs working right.
Correct. Yeah.
But to change a habit, you have to go from where it's not up here in the unconscious yet, as it's okay. It's out here in the conscious, and it's what you want to do. It's like a New Year's habit. But you have to, by design, consciously follow the new habit until you build a new highway in the mind between the neurons and convince the mind it's what you really want to do. And it may be hard in the beginning, but what's hard in the beginning becomes easy in the end. And one of the reasons it's hard is you first go from an inception and you're trying to do it to deception, and the unconscious says, no, I don't want to do that. I'm used to doing it this way.
Yeah.
And that's part of the resistance you have to get through until you then get to where it's the new habit. And the mind, once it accepts it to the unconscious level and you become unconscious and competent with it, then it's the mind says, okay, you really want to do it, so I'll take care of it from now on. And it becomes an easy habit in the end.
Yes.
Which hard in the beginning becomes easy in the end. Things you never thought you could do, you now master and own. And you can think of many things in your own life that you've done that with, can't you?
I can, yeah. Yeah. I'm really glad you brought that up about just the way our brains wire themselves to our habits. We don't realize how many bad habits, and it might seem like a productive quality, but if we make minor changes over a period of time, it's just like the numbers you gave with the profitability of this fictitious company. that applies to the way our brains work as well. You make a couple of tweaks here, do it for what, somewhere near 70 days, and all of a sudden you have new neural pathways. And we've seen people, scientifically heal their bodies, have, chronic issues that medical science gave up on them, but their brain chemistry changed and the body healed itself. What a novel concept. God created our bodies to heal themselves, right?
And if you want to look for the biggest reason people say they can't change, guess what it is?
They don't want to? I don't know.
I don't have time.
Yeah.
Is that the biggest one now that you think about it?
Yeah, in this busy world, I would say that probably is more dominant now than it has been in the past history. Yeah.
Well, I'm going to make it simple for you and your viewers. Take out a piece of paper.
Okay.
Put a line down the middle of the page.
Okay.
And a line across the middle of the page and divide it into 4 sections. 1, 2, 3, 4. Because there's only 4 things you can do to change anything.
Okay.
And in the top one on the left side, put more. And on the right side, put less. And on the bottom, put start. And on the right, put stop.
Okay.
Now, here's why I said those 4 things, because you can't tell me anything else you could do except those 4 things.
And I did them you can't see, but it's there.
Okay. Now, here's what I'm going to tell you. If you ask most people what they should do first is to start something. But that isn't the first thing people should do. The first thing they should do is stop. Stop those habits and things that are taking you away from going toward the goal.
Okay.
That alone frees up the time you need to start the processes and habits that will get you there. And you do more of the ones that are working, and you do less or replace the ones that aren't working well. Because if they aren't working well, you should either improve them or replace them. Pretty simple.
Yeah.
But how many people stop and look at it that way to try to help themselves? And I'm full of things like that can help my people accelerate from where they are to where they're going by first clarifying those goals and ordering them and then doing them one at a time where you can really focus on them and get them done so that you move from where you are to where you want to go a lot sooner than you could without my help.
Okay. Well, we're running short on time here. So next step here. Okay. So we have the audience, they're watching it. They like what you're saying. What action steps can we give our audience?
First, take a trip to my website. Here's where you go. Gammon, Gammon, and AND, Associates, ASSOCIATES.net. Not .com, not anything else, .net. On that website, you'll see several different things. The first thing they can do is get a free copy of my book, and that's titled Fast Track Your Business Journey and Thrive Along the Pathway to Your Dreams. I wrote it, and I'm giving it away to people who want to see some of the ways I try to help them. There are 40 different ways I mentioned earlier that I use. And of the 12 I start with, 5 of them are outlined in the book with real, live people that our company has helped in the past.
Wow.
And so those are some of the ideas. Others, there's a place on there if someone has a website that they can evaluate their website from 1 to 5 and see if it needs a little tweaking Both of those things are on my nickel. There's another place that they can ask me any question on my nickel, and we will answer that question promptly. And there's a place where they can book a strategy call with me to dig down and look at how we might help them and see a roadmap that would apply specifically to them. And then after seeing it, they make one of three choices. Pretty simple. They can do nothing. They can go shopping somewhere else to find someone else, likely less valuable and experienced than I am. Or they can choose to work with me. And those who have find every dollar they've ever spent come back with a multitude of friends. And that's one of the best investments anyone can make.
Very nice. All right. Well, thank you, sir. I'm definitely going to have all that information, the links to click on, even the links for the specific surveys and things that you mentioned. But to the audience, we're going to have Bill back a number of times because this is a journey. Like you might have heard me in the last episode with Bill, I was ready to give up this podcast, everybody, simply because I've been doing it 3 years and I hadn't made a single penny on it. And I'm trying to do this to make a living, to become a thriving business, to really help the kingdom of God through business. And people like myself and others who are entrepreneurs who love Jesus, want to make a difference in the world, but they don't know where to start, or they have a business and it's not getting anywhere, right? Or they're struggling to keep their lights on. That's what we're trying to really cater to, that audience here, as well as the audience who are doing well and they want to do better. Okay. So that's what we have moving forward. And Bill, I'm so thankful to have you on the show again. And we're going to keep this conversation going on. Y'all get to see this is like a documentary. You're watching the progress in real time, seeing what happens with us from now till the end of year number 4 for us.
Thank you. And thanks to the audience for staying with us and listening. And God bless you one and all.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. And I'll say it as I do every time. Remember that the kingdom of God is within you always. So go be fruitful and multiply. God bless you all, and we'll see you next time.